Good morning, internet land. Hello, hello, hello. I am just waiting for our good buddy Instagram to catch up to speed so that we can all hear about the 4 secret brains that we have together instead of just LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube being able to hear it. We want everybody on Instagram to also be able to hear it. Here we go. Instagram has caught up to speed, and we're going to get right into it. So, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of DIY Wellness. I'm your host, Brian Hogan, and I'm a life coach, filmmaker, and clinical therapist. And what I like to do on this show is explore different strategies for improving quality of life and well-being. Just take what resonates and toss the rest. There's no dogma to this. The dogma is one of the things from the old paradigm, and we need to leave it completely behind. And in the new paradigm, we have to go with present moment awareness, present moment real-time navigation, what works, what resonates for us. So that's what this show is all about. And in fact, that's what today's topic is about, because today's topic is about accessing the 4 secret brains that nobody told you about, that you have, because it's not their fault they didn't tell you. They're only using one brain. So they're at 20% capacity when we should be at 100% capacity. And so what we want to do today is I want to teach you guys about the 5 brains. Like, this is literal 5 brains. Like, we have so much more thinking capacity in our lives, in our bodies, in our internal system than we give ourselves credit for. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to learn how to disconnect from the dominant mode of being. We're going to reconnect to the seat of our real wisdom and leadership. And we're going to learn how to trust the process of navigating from a place beyond logic and language. So what that means is we're going to get into the reality of whole body intelligence, where the other 4 brains live besides just this one. We'll talk about all 5 of them, and I'll give you a couple simple ways to start reactivating and using the 5 brains. Brain number 4 is the right hemisphere, by the way. And so if you are intrigued by this and you want some exercises specifically for bringing online the right hemisphere, then go back and watch episode 27 about becoming a genius. And there's specifically exercises in there to help you increase the strength in your right brain, brain number 4. Okay. What if I told you the average person is using just one brain and calling it intelligence? There is literally this cultural obsession we have with like thinking it through. And when we say thinking it through, we mean thinking it through in our left brain with language and words and strategies and plans and details. That's what we mean by thinking it through. But there's this whole other realm to thinking, a wordless kind of thinking. And the other 4 brains all think without words. So it's only this one little brain in the middle, brain number 3, our left hemisphere, that thinks in words. So for example, let me bring this home for you guys with an example. If we follow logic, it's only going to get us so far. It leaves out the joy part. It leaves out the mystery part. It leaves out the adventure part. So I'm not saying don't just be illogical fully. Of course not. But logic is meant to be used to help us get to the place that our hearts dream up, not to use logic to get to the most logical place. Logic is about how to execute things, not about planning the direction that we go in. If I followed logic, or rather I did follow logic, and I got into these dead-end bartending jobs for over 10 years in my life, because my goal, my dream was to be an actor, director, screenwriter. There's still a dream in there for me. And I had this false belief born of logical left brain thinking that said, well, the logical thing to do is to do jobs that you can leave behind, like shift work. Even though I didn't care about those jobs and they made me miserable and they made me unhappy, it was logical to keep doing those jobs so that when I left work, I didn't have any like homework to think about. I didn't have anything to follow up on, and I could just go right to like creating my screenplays and creating my web series and all of those things. But it turns out when you spend a whole bunch of your life doing a job you don't care about, even though it's the most logical thing to do to free up my time as an artist, it backfires, because then I'm tired and I need to recuperate. So I'm not actually using the free time to be creative anyway. I'm using it to recover from having left my authenticity, having left my integrity, having left my true nature behind at the door, because logic said, well, go do the logical thing. So logic is a beautiful piece of our thinking puzzle, but we've got it backwards and we've put logic in charge, and logic is not meant to be in charge. It's meant to be step number 3. So if you're listening to this and this resonates with you, drop a comment or a heart in the chat if you've ever been stuck in your own head and it did not help, because that's what I want you guys to see. Being stuck in your head, it does not help. So we got to reframe what thinking is. Science now shows that we think from the heart, the gut, the nervous system, and the right hemisphere as well, not just the left hemisphere, which is what we think with all the time. So we need to figure out how to listen to those brains. The 5-brain system, it starts with the heart. The heart is the leader. So you can think of this: brain number 1 is the heart, and it's the leader. Its job is to set direction. Then we have brain number 2, and these are literal, like the heart, the gut, the left brain, the right brain, and the nervous system. They all run on neurons. They do run on brain cells. So there's literal thinking going on in this whole apparatus of our body, but it's just not the kind of thinking that we normally do in words. But there's reasoning happening. There's cost benefit analysis. There's the assessment of whether things are dangerous or right for us. All of that's happening in our heart, in our gut, in our right brain, and in our nervous system as well, not just in our left hemisphere. But it's happening not in words. It's happening in this other way. We've got to tune back into that so that we can think with all 5 brains. So brain number 1, the heart, the leader, sets the direction. Brain number 2 is the gut, the guardian, and it gives real-time yes or no information. So the heart sets, I want to go toward this. This is my dreams. These are my goals. This is my values in life. And the gut says, yes, no, yes, no. As you move toward the heart set direction, the gut is giving you real-time information about how to get there safely, how to get there wisely. And then we have the left brain and the right brain, which are 2 separate brains, and they work concurrently. Right now in our culture, we just run everything by the left brain. So we've got brain number 3 in charge, the left brain, and it plans everything, it executes everything. And that's why we're going in a direction that seems very, very logical in some ways, but it's also disastrous because we've left out joy and fulfillment out of the societal equation because society is run by the left brain at the moment. Anyway, the left brain is the scientist experimenter. Its job is to execute the plans of the heart after taking the guidance from the gut, and it executes those plans with logic, words, and details. The right brain is the artist experimenter. This one also executes the directions set by the heart after taking in the wisdom from the gut, but it executes via presence, connection, curiosity, and playfulness. So it's not necessarily doing it in words. And because our culture prioritizes speed and productivity and stuff right now, we oftentimes squash the impulses from the right brain because the left brain says, well, it's much more logical to not get too overly curious or playful or get stuck in the present moment too much because we've got to get things done. So we leave the right brain out, but we want the left and right brain to be working side by side so that as we're making logical details and plans with words, that we're also having a blast, being creative and playful and feeling connected to the material in the present moment. So that's brain number 3 and 4. And then brain number 5 is the nervous system. I like to call this one the gatekeeper because the nervous system decides if you have access to all of the other wordless brains. We always have access to brain number 3 because it speaks in our language, and so it can get our attention really, really more easily than the other brains, which don't speak in our language. On top of that, our culture prioritizes everything that the left brain has to offer. And so the left brain, we won't lose contact with it. It's literally the seat of our ego and our identity comes from our left brain. But we do lose contact with the other 4 all the time. And the nervous system is the key to this because the nervous system is the gatekeeper. So if you are in survival mode, in fight or flight, and most of us are a lot of the time, if that's you, if you're in survival mode or fight or flight, then you're not going to actually have access to the leader, the guardian, or the artist experimenter. You're not going to have access to your heart, your gut, and your right brain wisdom. So the first step to accessing this 5-brain thinking, whole-bodied intelligence, is to learn how to calm your system down so that you can move out of fight or flight into rest and digest. This doesn't mean that you have to, you can never access this way of thinking if things are going wrong in your life. What it means is you want to be able to find a fluidity in your own way of navigating the world so that when things come up that would normally put anyone into fight or flight, that you have the tools to then say, okay, I can pull myself back out of fight or flight so that I can then have access to my heart wisdom, my gut wisdom, and my creativity, even as I move logically to execute and solve problems. So that's what this whole brain, this whole body wisdom gives you, a whole new way of solving problems, even when the shit hits the fan. So let me go into each of these brains in a little bit more detail so you guys get a real quick sense of this. The heart the heart, brain number one, it's in charge of your visions, your values, and your deeper truth. It sets the course, it dreams the dream, it knows the way. HeartMath Institute and neurocardiology have explained that the heart has intrinsic neural structures and it emits the strongest electromagnetic field in the body. So the heart signals to the brain way more than the brain signals to the heart. The heart is the leader. The heart is in charge. Our culture has that backwards. And so it causes us to suffer because then we keep trying to make our best life through logic in the left brain. The left brain has no idea how to find your best life. No idea. The heart does know, though. And so we really want to tune into brain number one. In internal family systems, which is the type of therapy I practice with clients, the heart often represents the self. It's this space of calm, confident, clear compassion. And in mystical traditions, nearly every lineage emphasizes the heart as the seat of true knowing. Gnosis, Bhakti, compassion, the Kabbalah, they all emphasize the heart as the navigator and the destiny and wisdom. Right brain consciousness, from a book written by Ian McGilchrist called The Master and the Emissary, he talks very much about right hemisphere consciousness and how aligned with the heart's intelligence it is. It's nonlinear, it's relational, it's holistic, and it's emotionally attuned. We're going to get into the connection between brain number one, your heart, and brain number four, your right hemisphere, in a little bit. But the key takeaway here is that the heart is the first brain. This is an inversion of the Western paradigm because the heart is the part that has the mystical and physiological models of knowing. It has the neural structures, and all of the ancient wisdom has told us from the beginning of time until now, follow your heart. So Hallmark ruined it with that cliche, but it's the deepest, deepest truth we will ever know. Follow your heart. And then brain number two, the gut. Brain number two, this is the real-time, like yes or no guidance system, moment-to-moment intuition. It's called the enteric nervous system. And the gut is basically, or oftentimes called the second brain because of its autonomous neural network. So the gut actually also does a form of thinking, just like the heart. It just doesn't do the thinking in words. So it's still processing logically on your behalf. It's just outside the realm of your verbal ability to comprehend. So you have to find a different way to comprehend. That's through sensations, through signals, through the feelings, right? Polyvagal theory says the gut plays a central role in neuroception. Neuroception is your ability to perceive when you're in threat or safety. So really tuning into the gut brain really does give you yes, no signals about which way to go. It's like if you've ever been walking like on a street in the evening or something, and you have this, you're going to turn left down an alley, and then you have that feeling, well, I'm not going to go down that. That's your gut saying, no, don't. There's a mugger down there. So you listen to it, you don't, and you don't get mugged. Don't listen to it, go down the alley, you get mugged. Don't get mugged by life. Listen to all five brains. So even in mystic and Sufi traditions, the Sufi, the Taoists, indigenous traditions, they all recognize even the belly as a seat of intuitive power. So we have modern science and ancient wisdom backing up both, that you think with your heart and that you can get safety guidance from your gut. Brain number three, the left brain, the one that we're most familiar with, it drives everything we do. It's language, logic, but it's been miscast by our culture as the planner, as the strategist, as the boss. But it's not the boss. It's quite the opposite. It's meant to be the servant, not the master. And we've got that really, really backwards. So in his book, Ian McGilchrist talks about the left hemisphere excels in narrowly focused sequential tasks. So like problem solving, it is not designed to hold the whole picture. McGilchrist argues that Western culture has become overly left hemisphere dominant to the detriment of wisdom, and I could not agree with him more. Even in trauma literature, we understand that overusing the verbal analytical mind is an avoidance strategy that can keep you from processing and healing through your trauma. So the thing to take away here is not that planning is a problem. Planning is vital. It's not the problem. Misplaced planning is letting the left brain dictate the direction instead of execute the dream of the heart is the fatal error. So if you're hearing what I'm saying, and you're like, I don't know how to tune into my heart. That's okay. Probably you're in fight or flight mode. Most of us are most of the time, but you just want to take some deep breaths, let this resonate with you. And I will give you some questions you can ask yourself at the end that will help you start to tune into this whole body way of thinking. So brain number 4, the right brain. This one is meant to work in tandem with brain number 3. The right brain is responsible for presence, pattern recognition, fulfillment, joy, and play. It works along with the left. They're like brothers in arms, so to speak, but we don't use them like this. We use only the left right now. And so we've let the right atrophy because culture doesn't support what the right brain offers us. It supports getting things done fast, and getting things done the one right way. Whereas the right brain is like, let's get things done in presence. Let's be playful and curious. Let's see if there's more than one right way, just for shits and giggles. And capitalism is like, that shits and giggles we don't have time for. Get to work. So we've lost this right brain ability. The right brain is the master. It is designed for contextual awareness, empathy, integration, creativity, and presence. It has a direct wordless connection to the heart. That's what I was alluding to earlier. So right brain activity is associated with spiritual states, wholeness, timelessness, non-duality, interconnectedness, all of those realities that seem strange when we read about them in books. Like there's no such thing as separation. What the hell are you talking about? Here's me, here's my glasses, we're separate. But when you start to think from the right brain, you actually get a real known sense that where I end and the glasses begin is an illusion made of my visual perception. And even quantum physics would say that it's all just continuous quantum particles. So we get a sense from our right hemisphere when it comes online, we can touch into those ineffable realities more than we can when we're impossibly stuck in left brain logic. So the right brain should be part of the execution team alongside the left. It corrects the imbalance and it mirrors how the two hemispheres are meant to work. They're meant to work in harmony, not hierarchy, with the left being on top. The heart is meant to be on top. Finally, brain number 5, the nervous system, the connector, the gatekeeper brain. This one, it's like a status safety checker. It is safety status. Like if you're in the red zone, if things seem unsafe around you, then no other signals are going to get through. None of the wordless ones. The only signals that will get through is all the left brain chatter that's like, and the left brain chatter is mostly born of culture and anxiety. So you don't really want to like listen to it in terms of like telling you what to do. The heart tells you what to do. The left brain goes about figuring out how you'll get there to a degree, but it's not the one that sets the agenda. So the nervous system, polyvagal theory talks about something called neuroception, which I mentioned briefly, begins in the gut and comes up. It's a detection process for safety and danger. Neuroception determines whether we can access the other forms of wordless cognition. Whether we're in fight, flight, or freeze, the system prioritizes survival over connection, creativity, and reflection. So if you're in fight, flight, or freeze, you're not going to be able to do this subtle other thing. So step 1 is to really find a way to bring yourself into calm, peace, and presence. In mystical traditions, they call this the still small voice, and it can only be heard in moments of silence, presence, and safety. So the nervous system is like what mystical traditions, when they say the veil or the gate, the nervous system is the veil. It is the gate to our inner knowing. When the nervous system is calm, in rest and digest, we have so much more access to all of the other parts of our inner knowing, our intuitive system. So dysregulation drowns out gut heart wisdom, and it's really important for us to know that so that we can regulate. And then once we regulate, we have access to our gut and our heart wisdom. And from there, we can then set the agenda. So if your nervous system is on high alert, it's like trying to hear wisdom through a fire alarm. We've got brain number 3 in charge, making decisions that it was never meant to make. So no wonder we are exhausted and confused. Modern life rewards head-centered performance. Childhood trauma like probably activated brain 3, and we haven't been able to turn it off. And so all the other brains have been shut down by this. It's not our fault. It's not your fault that this happened. This is culture. We are born into this, but it is time to rewire. A brief story to help bring this home. Carl Jung is a father of modern psychology along with Freud. He like kind of broke away from Freud. But at one point, Carl Jung was he was really good friends with a Native American named Chief Mountain Lake. And the two of them were sitting up on a cliff or something. That's where they were in my vision of the story. I don't remember now exactly. And they got to talking, and Chief Mountain Lake was like, "You guys are so funny in the West. Like you're always walking around like you've got something on your mind. Like you're always trying to get something or need something." And he's like, "It's like you're always just like thinking about everything." And Carl Jung is like, "Yeah, well, we're thinking with our head. We're trying to get by in life or whatever." And And Chief Mountain Lake was like, well, that's just it. We find that weird. We don't think with our head. And Carl Jung was like, huh? Because he's a product of our culture too. He's like, where do you think then? And Chief Mountain Lake was like, we think with this. With this. He was talking about the whole body. He might not have had the words for it, but he means the heart, the gut, the nervous system, and the other half of your brain. The whole body. We think with the whole body. So here's a couple simple practices you can use to help you elicit the wisdom from the still small voice in your other four brains. Put your hand on your heart and put another hand on your gut when you're trying to make a decision. Literally, by putting your hands in the two spots, you bring awareness there. You bring your attention from wherever it is to the tactile sensation. And then you ask yourself, what do I know that I'm not saying yet? What do I know that I'm not saying yet? And see what starts to rise up that's pre-verbal. Because our words are great at ignoring, avoiding, procrastinating, talking ourselves out. Our heart and our gut won't lie to us. So then whatever words rise up in answer to that stillness, you can trust that more than the knee-jerk words that rise up out of your brain. So another one is you can just pause before any action. Pause before you take an action, especially where you aren't grounded in certainty that it's maybe the most aligned. If you're feeling that way, pause and say, what part of me is thinking right now? Am I stuck up here in brain number 3, trying to lead from here when this is the leader? And finally, track your nervous system before you decide anything. Are you calm or are you activated? If you're activated, try to get calm before you make the decisions if you can, because when you're calm, you bring back in heart wisdom, gut wisdom, and right hemisphere creativity. When you're not calm, you don't have access to any of that, and you just have to go with whatever the left hemisphere disaster brain is telling you. So yes, those 3 things. This one is very powerful for me. Hand on heart and hand on gut. And what do I know that I'm not saying? So this isn't about thinking less. It's about thinking more deeply, wider, wiser. Whole body thinking isn't woo. It's your birthright. It's how we were meant to do. So which of your 5 brains do you want to reconnect with this week? Let me know in the comments. And if what you heard here resonates with you, then share this episode with someone you know who might appreciate this message. And if you have any questions about this or any of the other topics, try it out and then let us know in the comments. We want to help you get unstuck and celebrate your wins. Because remember, DIY wellness means doing it yourself, but that does not mean you have to do it all by yourself. We'll be back again next week at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time on Monday morning. Until then, keep taking personal growth into your own hands. Much love, everybody. I trust you, humanity.